Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance coming to you from San Diego County. We are joined today by Bill Horn. He is a member of the Board of Supervisors in this county, but in 2018 he will have to leave his office, not because he wants to leave, but because the voters said that they want a two-term limit for supervisors. Talk to us about that movement.
Well, the union, SEIU, spent about $3.5 million to put that in because they could never elect a Democrat to the seat.
Which is so ironic because, as you may remember, in the 90s,
Right.
It was more conservative Republican forces pushing for statewide limits.
Right.
When,
which I was opposed to, too.
Well, so you're consistent, and we appreciate that. So explain that to me. Why are you philosophically opposed?
Well, when you have an election every 2 or 4 years, there's your term limit.
Right.
You can say bye.
Right. And if I may interrupt, we have a supervisor. His name is Dave Roberts. He would have had 2 terms under the regime. He was running for his last re-election, and the voters decided to have him move on. So they know how to do that.
Well, there were some other issues there besides the term limits.
Right, but what I'm saying is that voters can remove individuals from office.
Correct, and that's my whole idea. The problem I have with the term limits, especially like a county supervisor, or even your city council folks, you're going to start losing. There's going to be a new era coming up here. I've been there 22 years. Okay, so my colleagues have been there 22.
Sure.
One's a little less, maybe 21. Greg Cox, Diane's been there probably 24.
Right.
There's a lot of institutional knowledge about the government and how it runs. We're a $5.3 billion operation. We have a lot of deputies under, sworn deputies, about 2,500. That's the sheriff's department. We have a county staff of about 18,000. We work from everything from the health department to your, you name it, stormwater. We're involved in that. So you're now going to have new electeds without that kind of resource.
It's a fascinating dynamic because in a lot of ways I feel as if the electorate speaks out of 2 sides of their mouths. They want people who are experts, but yet they are willing to elect and try to increase the election of people that are new to politics. We think about Arnold Schwarzenegger. We think about Jesse Ventura. We think about Donald Trump. Folks that don't have that experience, but because of the term limit regime are able to be shiny red toys.
Well, that's partly true too, but for, let's say you go to the legislature, that is basically policy and philosophy. When you get to county supervisor, it's roads, potholes, wastewater. It's a lot of things. We set the policies for that, but we also are very actively involved in our district. I'm for the unincorporated area of my county, or our county, County San Diego. I'm the mayor and city council and the public works in places like Fallbrook and Sunshine Summit and Borrego Springs. And even though I have some cities which we're involved with, but the cities each have their own departments, their own whatever building departments. So I have an unincorporated area as big as some of the biggest cities, over 160,000 people.
What I think is important for folks to recognize is that on a day-to-day basis, the reality is county government impacts us much more than a city, a state, or a federal government. You are where the rubber meets the road. You said it. Healthcare, criminal justice, transportation, education at some level.
Right.
And so where do we go from here? Because Mr. Roberts is now gone, not because of term limits, but he's no longer going to be on the board. The 4 of you that are left, 2 of you gone in 18, 2 of you gone in 20. That means that Kristen Gaspar, who's taken Mr. Roberts' seat, will be senior in 2021?
Right. So.
And God bless her. I mean, I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job, but that's pretty remarkable.
That's why I decided that my chief of staff should go to her office, because he's then going to be able to bring her up to speed. And my concern right now, because I have 2 years left, is what I want to prepare the county for this new era it's going to
Right.
go into and this new transition. So
But
I
let me
would I
ask-
will tell the electorate,
Please.
and I'll tell you,
Please.
character does matter. That was the Dave Roberts type of issue.
Okay.
But George Washington said it 200 years ago or whatever it
Right.
was. Character does matter. And so we keep putting into office young people who don't, and I'm not opposed to young people,
Right.
but who don't have any experience. One of the reasons Trump got elected is because he has tremendous experience. He has a tremendous success. So I think the electorate looked at that and said, okay, that's what we want. We've already done with, we're done with the novices. They've messed it up enough.
But what do you think about the electorate's view of, we'll call it, lifetime politicians?
I understand.
Look, you've been in office for 22 years, but we honor that experience. We
I was
benefit from that
elected
experience.
when I was 51.
Right.
I retired from the building industry at 39.
And so, when I go to a dentist
Right.
or a lawyer,
Right.
I would like someone that's not removed from their profession after 8 years. I mean, you're just getting going after 8 years. The argument goes.
As far as the dentist goes, I don't want somebody right out of dental school.
Right.
I would prefer somebody that's been around a while.
Why is it that we do in politics tend to like, Mr. Trump's a different story because he does have the breadth
Right.
of business experience, but there is something about the shiny red toy where someone has, no political experience and
Yeah, they want it done. I remember when this term limits first came in for Sacramento, Willie Brown was the speaker.
Right.
They could never get rid of him at the ballot
Right.
box, so they wanted to put in term limits. Now, I'm a Republican, and I was dealing with the county, and before that I was the president of the school board.
Right.
I always, I found Willie Brown to be very receptive, attentive. I can't say that I never left Sacramento with not getting what I went up there to request.
Well, it was his depth of experience,
Right.
arguably.
So I was opposed to the, I think like I said, character does matter.
But what's interesting is while certain local governments are seeing term limits
Right.
imposed, in Sacramento, we saw a reform of term limits loosening them because, as you may remember, we had a 6 years term in the Assembly, 8 years in the Senate. Now we've gone 12-year total.
Right.
So at least there's
So what happens is when you do that, the bureaucrats become the decision makers, not the people you've elected. So you removed from the electorate the direct drive that they used to have when, say you're in there 4 terms and you did something stupid or something that the
Right.
public didn't want, they go to the ballot box and they get rid of you. That's the way I think it ought to be.
And what we've also seen through the term limit regimes, specifically in Sacramento, is we have seen folks jumping from office to office.
Right.
So I don't know what that gets
That's
us.
a problem for the county in the future. But I would go to Congress right now. Our attitude toward Congress, they're not listening to us. We elect them here locally.
Right.
They go to Washington, D.C., and they're removed. They're in a bubble.
But we love our congressman. We hate the Congress. That's part of the problem.
Well, that's part of the problem.
His name is Bill Horn. He is a member of the Board of Supervisors in beautiful San Diego County, where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us on Local Edition.